Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021 here, as always. And before we get started with this video, I would like to thank some new members of the Extra Rotation Club as part of my YouTube membership. So thank you to Hookie, Jacob Beatty, H. Higgins, Mickey, Sigur, Jon Samarison, if I got that right, Crocs, Andrew Goldberg, and Chrissy TM8. Thank you so much for being part of the Extra Rotation Club and for my YouTube membership. If you'd like to join that, then click the join button when you are on a PC. You will get first priority invites to my open lobbies, which I'll be doing many of those over Christmas on all platforms. Updates to my upgraded setups, discounts on one-to-one coaching at coachlimitless.com, and many other benefits. So now we arrive at the penultimate round of this BRS Championship, arriving at Brazil.
It's not a very good lap.
And this track for me has been a track that I've always really suffered with raw pace. I've always had to try and build somewhat of a consistency.
It's so close around here. I'm so bad around here over laps. I'm real how bad I am around here.
And as I just said there, just highlighting my thoughts of this track, I just can't seem to just have this raw speed around here. It's a track that I've always struggled at in the past on previous games. So today, I've actually set my car to be very, very fast on a straight line, purely for the race, with a different kind of strategy in mind. So come across the line here, we improved to a 7-0, but it's only enough for 8th place.
See how a small improvement of that can put you right up there. Oh my god.
But you can see how competitive it is with the likes of ET Rusty, a Mercy 1, BRT Stonks, a newcomer to this league, LOA Maris, and we're only in 8th or 9th place. So raw speed was very, very, very lacking at this stage here. So we got into Q2 though, and it started off as intermediates, but then the track quickly goes to dry towards the end of the session. So we did some laps on the intermediates, which weren't too bad. Now we are going to go out on the soft tyre towards the end of the session. And as you can see by the title of this video, sometimes you don't need to be the fastest driver in order to do well in league races. Sometimes it's actually being the smartest driver. And what I mean by that is by out-strategizing your opponents, just driving a bit more efficiently, a bit more forward-thinking than other people, looking after your tyres, making sure you choose the setup that's going to be good for the race, and really knowing your strategy inside out and how to deploy the ERS, when to push, when to back off. Once you start discovering these things, which a lot of these things I have highlighted in my one-to-one sessions with many people on different platforms, it's not just thinking about in the moment. If you can plan ahead in a lot of scenarios, then even if you don't have the raw speed, which is in many races that I've won in the past, I didn't have the raw speed. I wasn't the fastest driver on that day, especially in the qualifying, but I was the one who could put everything all together in the race. And if you are able to do that, then you will definitely hit a lot more of your potential in terms of the results that you desire. So we did a good banker in Q3, did a 6.7 as our first lap. My PB coming into this was only a 6.4, but that was with this setup, which was a 10.6 wing. So it's going to be pretty quick in a straight line. It's going to be nice and easy to recoup that battery power. However, in this middle sector, it was definitely lacking on the downforce, what you need, as ET Rusty does a 6.311. So really asserting his dominance around this track. Him and a Mercy, I think we're in a little bit of a different league in the qualifying at this stage. So we come off the exit here. Didn't feel like a bad lap at all. I was actually quite satisfied with this lap, which you're about to hear me say towards the end. As we're coming across the line now, what's it going to be? It's going to be a 6.6, and you will hear my thoughts on that now.
That was a fairly decent lap for me, so.
But that was only enough for P5. A Mercy won with a 6-2. E.T. Rusty, Porky, and Stonks out qualifying me. But I was confident in the race pace. And obviously, I always try and keep it clean with track limits, damage. But making sure I put my car in the right place and battery management is absolutely crucial around here. So I knew what I wanted to do with the strategy. I knew my raw speed wasn't going to be quite there, as we have Rusty ahead of us, who is starting on the medium tyres. So he's the only medium runner ahead of us. And typically the alternative strategy is fast. But around here, I was actually quite happy with the strategy I chose. So we've got 4 lights, 5 lights here, and let's see if we get a good start. BRT Stonks behind to the side of us. Gets a pretty equal start, but he's going to be boxed in on the inside. So we're just going to take the space round the outside to get the inside for the right. And now we're up into P4. So that's an absolutely perfect start so far. And now we've got HSR Porky, who in the practice was, I think he definitely had more pace than me. So I'm quite comfortable sitting in this position right now. We have A Mercy in the lead, who looks like he's already broken away. And at the time, I actually thought he was on the medium tyres. I wasn't aware that he was actually on the softs, which we'll find out a little bit later that we do start to, or we actually realise that at some point. But at the start of the race, the mediums are going to be struggling ever so slightly. It's really the first 8 to 10 laps where the softs will be the fastest tyre. But then there's that crossover period, and then the softs actually do drop away quite a lot, which is why, although the alternate strategies are normally very good, if you can start level with someone, the alternate strategy is probably going to be the quicker strategy. But round here, if you're not close to the leader on the alternate strategy, and plus it's quite hard to overtake, meaning that you actually have to use a lot of battery and a lot of wastage of the power of your car. If you can't make those moves stick straight away, then you're going to be running quite low on the ERS. So there's a big consequence to overtaking cars around here. And if you can get that gap on the softs, I fully expect people in esports who are starting at the front to probably be starting on the softs. It's quite similar to a Portimao-esque kind of strategy where the mediums are just quite a good tyre. So you probably want to be on those for quite a while. Get a good undercut, as we actually have our first virtual safety car already. Only took 1 and a bit laps for it to happen. We're going to skip towards the end of this VSC now and try and stay nice and close as you can. Got quite a good delta, no real pressure from behind. But the problem is now is that these two are actually, as I'm just saying there, with this battling in front, it's just letting A Mercy get away. And look at him, he's absolutely checked out. He's completely gone at this stage. So I was getting a bit frustrated here because I really wanted us three to pretty much work together in order to try and close down that gap, because the mediums are not going to be the fastest tyre at this stage. So with Rusty trying to overtake Porky, Porky is quite a defensive driver, it seems to be. This is just going to slow us all down, and this is what I mean by a little bit more forward thinking. For me, I want to try and win the race, and I know everyone else here probably wants to do it as well. So I'm quite keen to get past Rusty because I felt I'd be faster than him at this stage. We're going to go down the inside, that Albon and Hamilton-esque kind of scenario. He leaves just enough room. Live to fight another day. Now coming into this final corner, I knew my straight line speed would be better than most people in this race. So we're going to just punch the overtake button once again. You can see in the straight line, Porky is getting away. We've got the DRS. See, we're still gaining a bit of speed here. Amos is just at 9.7. We do a 9.6, so we haven't actually lost any time this lap, which is good news, as Kimi responds with the fastest lap of the race. So we're going to have another crack at overtaking Rusty, because I really wanted to try and get past him. It's crucial that I get ahead of this medium runner. Otherwise, he'd be in a very strong position in this race. We take the slipstream from Porky, go down the inside of Verstappen. Hamilton-esque kind of scenario, but this time, unlike Verstappen, I actually leave him room. Sorry, Verstappen fans. And now we're into P3. And now I was hoping that we could actually work together to catch up to A Mercy, who has almost a 3-second lead at this stage. So now I just realised he was on the soft tyre.
I thought he was on mediums.
Which is good news, because if he was on mediums, then he'd be looking seriously good for this race win. So now in my mind, I want to try and save as much battery as I can, overtake Porky without really battling too much. And I wanted to avoid really getting into any kind of scrap. I wanted to try and recharge my ERS, and then when I do the overtake, or if I have to overtake him, I can use it to really try and make some dents into a Mercy's lead here. So you can see right here now, we're going to be sitting behind him, going to be putting on the ERS, and now we just turn it off because I'm not interested. But the problem is, Porky seems to be quite a defensive driver. You can see he's already defending going down the straight, which is not going to be helping us at all. So we're trying to get as nice and close as we possibly can coming off the exit of this final braking zone. And you can see we're not using any of the battery. He actually decides to let us go this time. So this is exactly what I want. Kind of like cycling, if you watch it in the Olympics or in go-karting or any other sport. One person takes the lead, they get pushed along, they give the tow to the person behind. So the guy in front is pushing. Then after a few laps, they switch around. Then the person behind saves the battery, saves a bit of strength whilst the other one pushes. And then you're not battling each other, but you're just dragging each other along whilst being able to save that battery power. Whereas a Mercy has to do all the work by himself at this stage. So you can see the gap has now come down to 2.3 seconds. So this is exactly what we want at the moment. It's getting about 6 to 7 tenths into his lead. And I'm trying to avoid defending as much as possible. So I'm going to be pushing a little bit here to drag everyone along behind. But I wanted to avoid us battling so much. But coming into this turn 1, Porky decides to do the overtake here. And a little bit tight for room, but we just about got through there. And I would say this is probably not the best place to overtake because there's another DRS zone on the exit here. I probably would have waited for this corner because we would have just been holding each other up. And I'm just going to hold it down the inside here because I want to avoid Rusty getting track position on us. Otherwise, he's probably going to end up battling quite a bit. And again, we're just going to be slowing each other down where the softs are still probably slightly the faster tyre at this stage of the race. So we've lost a little bit of time to a Mercy. Coming into here, I'm not going to overtake Porky coming into this corner because I think you'd just be losing a little bit too much time. So trying to get a good exit off this one. Try and avoid using the ERS as much as I can. So I'm just trying to save the battery as much as possible. And you can see we're just turning off the DRS once again. Don't want to catch him too quickly because I just didn't want him to defend going into these corners. I wanted him to know that I just didn't want to overtake him at this stage. But moving into here, the gap is still about 2.7 to a Mercy. Getting nice and close on the exit of this corner. And now with a little bit of the battery saved up, using a boost off the final braking zone. And now we're just going to carry that momentum once again. So this is not really costing me any time because I'm getting the move done earlier into the corner so I can get back on the racing line. But then ET Rusty goes down the inside of HSR Porky as they're battling once again. And you can see we've made a few more inroads into the lead of a Mercy. But he's going to be pushing quite hard with the ERS in order to try and maintain this sort of lead. So coming through into here, see we have absolutely no grip on these tyres. This is the point where the mediums will start to become the faster tyre. And with the setup I was running, mainly being focused on straight line speed, we just didn't have the downforce. As coming into this turn 1 now, this is exactly what I didn't want. And coming into it, what's going to happen here?
What was he doing?
And that was so close to getting damaged going through into there. And
you're on mediums, man. Relax.
Yeah, you're going to be a bit of frustration now.
You're in a good position. You don't need to be going gun-ho.
And now we're going to get overtaken by MBSFN and not really too much room on the exit of that corner.
Fucking hell, these people don't use their brains. You just let a Mercy just get away completely.
And yeah, you can see the lead that a Mercy has now.
Why are you fighting so hard? There's 25 laps to go.
This is just costing us a lot of time, and I was starting to lose a little bit of grip in my tyres. But as I said, I had the strategy in mind, and that was to go long into this race because I know having fresh to mediums around this track is actually quite a significant advantage. And now these are probably one of the most crucial laps. I'm just outside the DRS zone of Rusty, but with this straight line speed that I have, we've got to try and get back within the DRS zone here. And his pace on the mediums is very, very good. A Mercy has stayed out as well. I want him to try and drag me along as much as possible. So coming through to here, we're not going to get the detection point, closing in on A Mercy a little bit, but now we're just using all of the battery. And if you look at the top left hand side, you will see how much straight line speed we actually have. As A Mercy now boxes, the undercut isn't actually that powerful around here. So that's why, again, I'm going long and trying to bank on those fresher mediums, because I'm already going to get slightly undercutted. But I know if I could catch them up at the end of the race with the straight line speed that I have and the fresher tyres, that will make up for my lack of raw speed around this circuit. So that's exactly what I was hoping here. And we're just trying to do as fast in-lap as we can, as we tell Jeff that we're coming into box at the end of this lap. So we do another pit to confirm here. Say Rusty has broken out of this DRS zone, coming into really trying to gain the time coming into the pit lane. And that was quite a good in-lap. So we're going to go on mediums now. We're going to have the freshest tyres out of everyone in this lead group. And let's see what the undercut is actually going to be, because there's still 20 laps of this race to go. And 20 laps on mediums wasn't actually the easiest thing to do in the world. The softs are durable, but they just lose their pace after 10 or so laps. So the people on the softs, or people on the mediums who haven't pitted, they've got to go another 8 laps. So it's going to be an 8-lap undercut, which is why I think the normal strategy of the soft to medium is actually probably one of the stronger normal strategies out of every track. You can see the gap is about 2 seconds, so we have lost a bit of time, but I was confident with the straight line speed. Take a shot every time I say that, by the way, that we could actually close in at the end. So we're just playing the long game right now, as Critch actually retires from the race, which might actually trigger a virtual safety car, which it does trigger a virtual safety car. However, the people in the medium, such as Rusty, they can't pit for softs now, because 20 laps on the softs, their just tyres are going to be absolutely dead. However, he has actually benefited one person, and that's this guy in front, Alex Yeno, who was still on the softs, so he actually stayed out a lap longer than me. Now he has the freshest mediums, so both of us have the freshest medium set of tyres here, and now it's our job to try and close in. But I face another obstacle. This guy likes to battle quite a bit, so again, I have to try and use my brain here. I don't want to... It's a very risky thing to do around this track by using your ERS. As you can see, he's going very, very defensive into these corners, which is not what I want. Because if you use all your battery around this track to try and commit to an overtake, there's so many DRS zones and so much straight line speed, it's so hard to overtake people again. So we're going to try and get this move done. Going down the inside here. Do we get this move done? Yes, we do. But we had to use quite a bit of the battery to do it. And the problem is, as I was just saying, if you use all of your battery, there isn't that many corners where you can gain the speed. And especially with my setup, which wasn't good in the corners, I'm pretty much purely relying on the straight line speed. So I have to get in the DRS zone. But then we just end up start battling. So he doesn't get back to the racing line. This is just going to slow us down.
I don't know why people overtake you there, because then you just got this DRS line here.
And it's just slowing us down, because we're just losing time to the guys up ahead. He's going defensive again.
Really? Fucking hell.
And yeah, it started to become a little bit more of a frustrating experience. So we've got to try and think carefully of what we are going to do here. So my mindset now was to try and hope that this guy had the pace to catch this lead group, or wait for their tyres to go off towards the end of the race.
Me and this guy got the freshest mediums. The guys up ahead have got older,
but we actually have E.T. Rusty behind, who is on the soft tyres, but he has pitted pretty early, and you could just see the grip of these soft tyres. There's absolutely nothing you can do here, so we're just going to let him go. But this might actually be a godsend, because we could use him to get through the field. But his soft tyres are going to be very, very good at this stage of the race.
His tyres go off a bit at the end.
But his tyres will go off at the end of a race. No question about it. I think the mediums that we're on will definitely be the quicker tyre towards the end of the race, because he's got to do well over 14 laps on those tyres. So coming through into here now, we're just going to try and benefit.
Hopefully he catches the front group and then he gets held up.
Benefit the use of his
Hopefully the front
DRS as he makes the move on Porky. And now we've just got to try and keep it as consistent as we possibly can. So we've done a good job at saving our ERS. You can see we're not really trying to overtake him because he's still going quite defensive, but I'm trying to make it obvious that I want us to work together at this stage. You can see we are closing the gap to A Mercy here, and coming through into here, going around this corner, if you look very, very closely up ahead, it's absolute carnage here. And
Rusty's gone.
Rusty, MBSFN have had a major incident there. As we look at the replay of this, you can see Rusty was quite low on the ERS himself, almost swiping each other out going down straight. So they're both redlining with the battery power, which is why straight line speed, we are quite in a good position with the battery power at this stage here, as A Mercy is actually behind these guys. So he got undercutted himself because he went a little bit long. And going through into here, there's an absolute car crash.
He's too aggressive, man. He's way too aggressive.
And you hear me say that Rusty was too aggressive, and I have to take that back because that wasn't actually his fault. I believe MBSFN, he didn't intentionally do that, as Porky has suffered damage as well. So that's another gifted position. But I think MBSFN had an issue with his wheel, and there was a little bit of a desync.
Yeah, Rusty and Porky are gone.
And yeah,
I don't know where Critch is.
As Critch just retired a little bit early in this race. So yeah, they were being aggressive in the first stint by battling too much, but on that occasion, that was just very, very unlucky to Rusty and MBSFN. But now,
I've got pretty good tyres.
As we're saying,
compared to A Mercy, it's just this guy here.
We're in a really good position now, because A Mercy is only 1.9 seconds ahead. We have one lap fresher tyres than him as well, and if we can control our battery,
he's got a penalty as well. Nice.
If we could control our battery and then close into the DRS zone of A Mercy, we could be in a very, very good position in this race. As we look forward here, his red light is actually flashing. So
he's got no ERS.
We've got a lot of battery compared to everyone else, and I knew A Mercy would probably be a little bit low on the battery since he has spent most of his race by himself without any of the DRS. So that's what I was thinking coming to this race. Just sit behind people in the DRS with this extra straight line speed, enabling me to save all of my battery. And then when the fuel load is lighter, going longer into the race, if we can still stay with the lead group on fresher tyres, with more battery, with better straight line speed, then maybe this can make up for our lack of pace. So I'm going to go for the overtake here, not using much of the battery because I knew he was under 10%. So now this is absolutely crucial. This is the lap where I need to get within his DRS zone, because I need to commit to one lap. As I said, if I commit and I don't make it into his DRS zone, then it's going to be really hard for me to defend from the car behind. So I've got to try and get within his DRS zone here, almost pushing the car off the track here, because Alex behind, he does have fresher mediums. And I said before, fresher mediums is a very, very, very powerful thing. A lot more powerful than you would actually think round tracks such as Brazil. So you can see we're closing in almost on the tip of the DRS zone here, but it's going through the middle sector. This is where the setup definitely suffers. So you can see going through the corners, he's actually pulling away here, but then coming through it. We're not going to get a detection point on the exit of this corner, but if you look at the delta and the straight line speed, we're punching the ERS now. Do we get within the DRS zone? And the detection point is going through the exit of turn 1. You can see the straight line speed is just absolutely superior, and this is where the setup is working. This is exactly what we needed. And do we get the DRS? Yes, we do get the DRS. And you can see a little sigh of relief and relax now, because this is exactly what we needed to do for the strategy. If we didn't get in the DRS zone there, he was faster in the corner. So now what we're going to do is that we're just going to sit behind. We just go sit behind, save up that battery, because the DRS is very powerful in this game. And if you have the battery and the DRS, it's very, very hard to defend against. So we know we have the faster car in a straight line. We've got the better tyre wear at this stage, and we're right where we exactly want to be. So all I have to do now is try and not get a Mercy to defend, because we do have a couple of soft runners who are quite close behind us. But Alex behind, despite him having a penalty, he has the fresher tyres. I know he would probably like to get involved in this race if the opportunity opens up. So we're going to try and stop him from overtaking me, because if he overtakes me, then it becomes a 3-man DRS train. I've got to try and stay in the middle of this somehow, whilst not pushing a Mercy too hard, whilst I'm saving the battery. So a Mercy's going to struggle to save the battery because he doesn't have the DRS. It's coming off the exit here, just making sure we get good exits and put on the DRS. Do we turn it off? And you can see we've turned it off very early down the straight. We don't want to overspeed, catch him too quickly at the end of this straight. So we're doing a really good job with the battery. You can see we're over 50% now. So this is exactly what we need. But Alex was starting to get a little bit closer. So what we're going to do now, we're going to check our tyre wear. Are we going to make the overtake coming through into here? I believe we actually are. So we're going to spot the racing line. As long as we could overtake on the racing line, we get this move done. And the reason why I've overtaken him here is because I didn't want to lead going into Sarsap. And I saw a lot of people say in my stream, why did I not push the ERS here? And the reason why is that it's a big, big risk. If I could break out the DRS here, then Alex could just sit behind him. He might have 100% battery now, for all I know. So he could then just overtake a Mercy. Then he could just get onto the back of me and then DRS me on the last lap. So I knew it would be a big gamble to try and push myself out of this DRS zone. But during these corners, I'm going to try and stretch a Mercy as much as I can. Try and get him to use more of the battery than he would have liked. So that's really what was going through my mind at this stage. So we're going to try and avoid using it on the straights, because I wanted him to overtake me going into the last lap. I wanted to try and get him either in the first sector or on this very last straight, because I knew the straight line speed was definitely there to do it. So we haven't used anything going down the straight. We've got over 60% of the ERS now, and we're in a very good position. And once again, he's not going to be close enough for a move, so we don't even need to touch the battery here. I know the traction is going to be good. And a little side just to try and get my composure together for the last 2 laps of this race. So coming into the penultimate lap here, a Mercy, let's see how close he is going to be. And if he gets too close, I think Alex is going to try and follow him through. So we're just keeping an eye on him. And now we're going to have to use his overtake. So we're not going to defend, but we have to stay in the middle of these 2 cars. We cannot afford for Alex to get past me, because if we get in that third train, it's going to be near impossible to win this race here. So again, using a bit of the overtake. I don't want to overtake a Mercy, but I have to avoid being overtaken. So we're going to the middle of the track just to give him no options to really go through into this corner. And now we have defended from the McLaren, but he's going to be very, very close coming into Sarsap. So again, do I overtake him into turn 1, but then he gets the DRS back on me? In my mind, I was thinking to this last straight, I was thinking to myself, I have a lot of battery here. I've got the better tyre wear than the Mercy now, because you can see I'm actually able to stay with him quite closely going through into these corners. And coming off this last straight, this will give me a good indication of what my straight line speed actually is. So if we could stay this close, then I felt confident that we would be able to do it. So using the overtake here, but we're not going to try and overtake him again. Using a bit because I don't want to get overtaken by this McLaren, and that we could have pushed it a lot more. He's not going to be close enough to going into his turn 1, so we're just trying to manage this once again. Now coming through into here, we get a really good exit, but once again, As we come up, we've got a yellow flag in this first sector, so I didn't want to overtake in case I got a legal overtake. This red light is flashing. Going for it, this lapped car. What is this car doing on the exit? Going for it, almost losing the car. No idea what that AlphaTauri is doing, but A Mercy is under 10%, and we have over 50% of the battery. So if we can stay close here, I knew it was going to be game on coming down this straight. So we've managed the battery so well this race. Now we've got to try and keep as close as we possibly can. Do we get a good exit of this corner? Not too bad at all. The dirty air is going to push us wide. Now into the final braking. So do we go into him? But we don't do it well. We miss the apex. He gets a really good exit, and we're not that close. Now we have to use the straight line speed. Coming through into here now. His red light is flashing. Cue the headphone warnings. What is this going to be? Going across the line. What is it going to be? Come on, yes! Yes! Get the fuck in there! Yes! Let's fucking go! Woo!
Let's fucking go.
And by 0.038 of a second. That was a lot closer than I wanted it to be. But I think for our lack of pace, we drove the perfect race for what we needed. GG to Mercy, GG to Alex, to Rusty, Porky, everyone else. That was a very enjoyable race, and that's why if you don't have the raw speed, if you put your car in the right place, you do the right approach, then you could get a much better result than you feel. Thank you so much for the support on my channel. Make sure you use code Christmas21 for... There's only a few remaining slots for my one-to-one coaching for this month. I will be opening up more for January this week, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.